All right, my name is Holly, and this is Matt and Mary, and this is for a role play for class, so it's not a real counseling session. All right, so what brings you guys in today?
So, this has happened a few times where I feel like when he's driving, he is more concerned with being right than being safe.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even on the way here, a car pulled out in front of us and wasn't really even like cleared from our lane, and he just doesn't even brake, and he's honking at them, just proving that he's right. Meanwhile, there's the two of us plus two kids in the car, and to me, I don't care. Like, put on the brake and drive safely instead of prove that you're right and just act like, well, they're wrong, so if we get in a wreck, it's okay because we were right. And then, but we still have to put up with being in a wreck or an insurance stuff and all the hassle that goes along with that. Or, you know, it could put us in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that makes me think about death and like that I know I'm very unprepared and I don't have any logistic stuff worked out really for like what would happen to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't have life insurance right now.
Mm-hmm.
That like it would just be I don't know, like I have so many loose ends that would need to be tied up. Plus, even from like if something happened to him, I don't have access to some accounts that I would need. Like I couldn't pay our electric bill
Mm-hmm.
if something happened to him because I have account numbers, but I don't know passwords to things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not prepared for myself. I'm not prepared for the kids. I'm not prepared even for if something were to happen to him
Mm-hmm.
to like continue on and not just feel really unprepared and like lost.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think you're prepared if something were to happen to you or
No, I mean, nobody's really prepared for a sudden death were to happen. Especially moving on without, the partner that you were with day to day for X amount of years. And together as a couple, we're not really prepared if something were to happen to either one of us.
And then he jokes of like that to just what did you say? To just like put your remains in like a can of Bud Light and throw it somewhere.
Yeah.
And so then he just like jokes back and it's like I'm being serious. So these are things that, we have to talk about sometimes and we don't always just because. I mean, the last thing you want to do is really give serious thought to it happening, but it is something that that crosses my mind
Mm-hmm.
from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
The like what if something were to happen.
Okay. So it sounds like just, with the almost car accident, that it could put your life in perspective, I guess, in a way, to like, are you guys ready? What would happen in the next step if something were to happen in that sense? And so, for Matt, do you think, is that it, like, does that cross your mind when you are driving and these situations kind of pop up, or
No,
are you
not
just
really.
just focused on getting to point A to point B?
I
And
think I'm just more focused getting point A to point B.
okay, so you're not really concerned in long-term aspect.
No.
No. Whereas you're more concerned with the long term of what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I just think like be a little more defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like with his driving, but then we probably should be a little more even like self-defensive on just better prepared.
Mm-hmm. So, on becoming better prepared, like, so because of the, I want to say accident, but it wasn't an accident.
Right.
It was a near miss accident type of situation. But with that, does it prompt you to make different decisions, like on how you go forward with planning your life situation, or?
I mean, I think we should. I'm new on a job, so I know for sure when I get ready to sign up for benefits that I'll get life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Because the job that I've had currently, that wasn't an option, and
Mhm.
it's always something that I have had. So that makes me feel better
Mm-hmm.
to know that there would at least be life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And he has some. I feel like we should get some supplemental
Mm-hmm.
because it wouldn't. I don't even know either about like how you would plan a funeral or any of the steps that would happen if you're to lose somebody. I'm not very educated in that capacity at all.
It's not like you can easily Google how to plan for a funeral.
So, you know, like that would be another thing that we should look into just for our own know-how and for that reason. But
Mhm.
so I think, you know, maybe that, and then for sure need to get some like account information and passwords again,
Mhm.
so that I have that stuff. And then, you know, and maybe just put in writing what our wishes would be,
Mhm.
just to know, because there's like songs that I want played if something happens to me. If there's a funeral, it's all about the music, really. So that you don't know about, but
Okay,
you
so
should know.
so you're already planning your funeral in a sense. Like you've like gone past the whole planning of what's going to be like to prepare you for death just to the funeral itself.
I have an emotional connection to some music.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so in essence, are you afraid? Wait, that's not the right question that I want to ask. You feel pretty confident or okay with dying, even though you're not prepared?
I would be more concerned with the people that I love
Mhm.
than with myself, because
Mhm.
I know where I would be going.
Mhm.
Like, and I would be in a better place, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't have pain
Mhm.
or worries, but the people that I would leave behind would,
Mhm.
because I feel confident that, you know, I know the truth that Jesus is my Savior and that I would go to heaven and I'm saved. So, you know, if I were to move on, it would be easy for me. I'm home. I'm supposed to be
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
anyway.
Mhm.
But the people I leave behind would be,
So that's concerning for you.
yeah,
That's causing
very,
you some
yeah,
anxiety.
very much.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
Kind of been the same. Like I don't want to leave my untied affairs to my family members. I think it would be more suffering and pain for them
Mhm.
versus for me. It's really just the biggest part of, you know, having them tie everything up.
Gotcha. So are you okay with death? Like you're not afraid if it came, you'd be okay?
That'd be okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in planning though, like I know the kind of the what you're leaving behind for the people that you love, what do you think that you could do differently that could help prepare for that?
I think really having a living will and testament
Yeah.
Mhm.
to our more important affairs of
Mhm.
where or who, what our belongings would go to, or what our wishes would be for our belongings and our personal items,
Yeah.
especially for like the animals that we have and the kids that we have.
Mhm.
I think it would be important for them to know, like, okay, well, here's what we're doing for you guys. If something were to happen, this is what you're gonna be left with.
Right.
Yeah. And I think some financial planning
Mhm.
too, because I wouldn't want for either one of us to struggle
Yeah.
if something were to happen to us,
Mhm.
you know, where then the other person has to worry about, you know, like if her, you know, either one of us, how am I raising two kids on one income now,
Mhm.
or, you know, and still have some money maybe for like the kids for college,
Mhm.
and, you know, and all of that, like that would be hard. So, I mean, I think some discussion about that, and, you know, and maybe looking into some kind of supplemental life insurance
Mhm.
too, just to know that that's there. It's not gonna take away the hurt
Mhm.
if it were to happen, but if it could ease some of the financial stress that a situation like that causes, then, you know, it's like one less thing
Mhm.
to worry about.
Mhm. So if something were to happen to Matt and he was the one that passed away, how would you carry on, do you think?
I mean, I think it would be very difficult. I mean, it would be very emotional in the beginning, and I think it would be like kind of maybe once the shock and the like hurt and anguish
Mhm.
starts to like wear down,
Mhm.
then it would be like what do I do about his son?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, what do I give to him? What do we set aside for him for college? Or, you know, there will be your family to contact, and, you know, and like, what if they wanted to like have a funeral in South Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there would be a lot. So I think, you know, immediately there would be just kind of that shock, and then all this other pressure would
Mhm.
start to build. I think would be kind of the first reaction,
Mm-hmm.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What about you? What if something happened to Mary?
I think it'll be about the same. Who do I contact in her family to notify them?
Mhm.
What do I do with the girls?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do with all of her assets and loose ends that she may or may not have?
Mm-hmm. A lot of logistics. Okay, but so you guys have been together for quite a while, and so the emotional. Let's talk about the emotional part of it. So not having that other person there, because you rely on each other a lot. I
Mhm.
mean, it sounds like from previous that if you're working, he's helping with taking care of the girls. When he's out of town, you're taking care of the dogs. Like, you've got kind of a system that goes on for you guys. How would that disrupt, if one of you were missing, how would that disrupt the system?
That'll be a train derailment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it would just
There's
be a mess
no nice way to put that at
to
all.
figure out. So it's for sure not easy being a single parent by any means, and a lot of planning for, how do I coordinate working and the kids, and
Mm-hmm.
or kids and being away, because he travels
Mm-hmm.
sometimes quite a bit for work. So plus it would just be, I mean, he's just like, he's the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. So it's like, how do you spend the rest of your life with someone who's not there anymore? I mean, that would just be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Just to not have him be there every day. He's so wonderful at being just supportive and just being my companion.
Mm-hmm.
That to not have that would be like, I just don't even like to think really about that. It's a
Mhm.
lot easier to think about stuff that you could actually plan for
Control. Mm-hmm.
and fix
Mm-hmm.
to a degree than to think about how devastating it would be.
Or putting that plan into action
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
if something were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I like you.
So, when you're, I'm thinking too, Hannah, when you're driving and you've got these precious lives in your hand, is that something that you might want to think about? Like, and not, like maybe take a little extra caution with when you have precious cargo in the car that you could possibly lose, but then yet you were right?
Yeah.
Brake
moving
instead of
forward, yeah.
honk, or still honk, but brake at the same time.
Yeah, moving forward.
I mean, nobody's ever really prepared for death when it comes, because it's so finite. Like, your life is just a short whisper of time on this earth, right? So, when you had said that that you would be going to heaven, and that God is and Jesus is your Savior, like, where you're going. Same thing, you would know where He is going. And so, you would have some comfort that that they're going somewhere. But then it's just that hole that is left behind, and how to get past that is kind of a tricky situation.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so going forward, like, I know, like, probably you're gonna want to like look into, like, I guess planning, like the living will that you were talking about, but just how would you? Is there anything that you could do in place now to kind of, like, there's things that are uncontrollable. There's things that just, freak accidents, natural disasters, whatever the case may be. But is there anything that you could do differently now to prepare, other than the financial part, but the emotional part?
I think just talking more about what our wishes are, and then I think too, like, talking to our kids
Mm-hmm.
about They've like my kids have not really ever been through any kind of loss.
Mhm.
Like the closest contact they've had with any kind of death is when we were visiting his family and his dog died.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and so they're not very, and I mean I'm glad for it that they haven't experienced any major loss, but you know, and they very quickly don't want to talk about subjects like that.
Mhm.
Like even in just bringing it up, it's like maybe they have a fear like that would bring it on. Like it's just, it is, you know, death is one of those things that you don't want to talk about
Mhm.
because you don't want it to happen.
Mhm.
But you know, eventually they're gonna experience someone in their life passing away.
Mhm.
And so, you know, like I kind of feel like obligated as a parent then to like just have some dialogue about, you know, that really our human bodies are just shells,
Mhm.
and that, you know, if something were to happen to somebody, the inside of them, what makes them who they are, would go to heaven and would
Mhm.
be home,
Mhm.
and, you know, would have no pain, and you would be with them again. But and that it's okay to miss them, you know, but then a piece of them would always be with you.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think having just some conversations
Mhm.
like that too.
So do you think, I know you had talked with their faith, so do you think help bringing the faith part into it might help them understand it a little bit more?
I think so. We talk now about just not necessarily about death, but just that, you know, there are things we can't control. We can't control how other people are feeling, you know, and all we can do is ask for God to give, you know, people maybe who are unhappy peace,
Mhm.
or, you know, or peace for, you know, for them if they're going through a hard time,
Mhm.
and just, you know, that faith that God's going to provide what you need.
Mhm.
I just haven't necessarily taken it to a place of, you know, loss.
Mhm.
But that, you know, that God could provide still that peace. And the last thing I would want for them to feel is if something happened to me and was like bitter or angry.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, that's natural, and it's probably a natural, you know, stage of grief is to be angry, but, you know, but still to just have faith that God's gonna still take care of you and
Mhm.
give you everything you need.
That's good. Anything that you'd like to contribute?
She pretty much hit it on the head right there.
She did. She did. All right. Well, it
Good
looks
job.
like our time is up, and so thank you for your time.
Thank you.